And now we welcome Sebastian Margaret from Disability Community Project at EQNM.
Oh, these lights. Oh. Can you all me hear? Me hate a stationary mic, so that might not stay. Hold on just a second. Come by. Oh, we'll have this right just a second. Thank you. Oh, hi. Oh. Yeah. Ooh. Oh, yes. Well, hi, everybody. How are you doing? Oh, come on. Me and from Yorkshire, we're a rowdy lot. How are you doing? Yay! There you go. So I am here with gratitude deep to time spent with you all, and also with responsibility huge. We're here at a difficult time. And we have to be clear that, in all honesty, we have an agenda, in case that obvious wasn't, just to keep it real. That responsibility mine is to uplift, insist, cajole, and entice you all to remember that we too, disabled and sick folk, we are among you, even if you haven't yet fully acknowledged that truth, even as you struggle to commit to find the way to work to connect with us. So we're here, right, this time in particular, that for folks many is actually a repetition of times historical, where the violence against Black, Indigenous, and folks of color has just been revealed for the brutality and for its persistence. We're here in this time that demands a particular responsibility and rigor of all folks who are white, to engage authentically with accountability to Black, Indigenous, and people of color to do our work with racial justice, to do so within white spaces if we only that accountability have and are building, and to do so not a destination as, not a place white fragility of, but a place that leads us to authentically be able to be part of a multiracial movement, a groundswelling for racial justice in this country, and without that, reproductive justice will not achieve its ends. And in times this time of heightened but not atypical brutality, we have a need to fight, to protect and defend our most marginalized of folks. And as a CRIP and as disabled folks, as folks with chronic illness, what we know that means is that you actually have to locate us in order to protect and defend us. That those of us who live in psych wards, who live in group homes, who live in our families' back rooms, who are in special ed, who are in sheltered workspaces, we live lives that are largely invisible to you. If you cannot know us, if you can't find us, if you don't have outreach to find us and connect with us, then how can you protect and defend us? We ask that you know us, that you come and find us, that you break us out of the isolation that we live in, that you find a way to connect with us, and that you commit to that doing in this moment. Because we are here. We are just navigating grinding states of isolation and intense dismissal from all social justice spaces, including this one. Because the reality is also that if you poor are, you are more likely to a disability or chronic illness have. If you are disabled or chronic illness have, you are more likely to be poor. It has always been this stark, and nothing is changing. And within the realities, our lives continue not separated or separate, but segregated. In housing, in special ed, in employment, in transportation, in incarceration, in reproductive rights, in relationship to accessing the most bare necessities of survival means, and absolutely in connection to any sense of reproductive service provision, let alone any hint of justice. We are your familiars made strange. We are just estranged and split away. We have always here been, for generations, through time out of mind. Disabled and ill bodies have been the pulse of your normalcy. We've just been split away, divided still. Typically, current inclusion hours in reproductive movements, it's not that great. It mirrors experience hours typical of accessing service provision, so not as stakeholders or collaborators. Occasionally we'll find ourselves itemized consumers as, perhaps. And then we are grant line items that beget broken promises, entries that whisper in delicate, quieted, uninformed tones, at best about access only. Line items, entries, outreach and engagement efforts so single-dimensional, so uninspired, so lacking a power analysis that they a dead tie become between injury and insult. And within all of this, we survive brutal violence, navigate state control so absolute, so complete, we are denied the right to self-determine our lives in the very most basic of ways. And by that we mean who wipes our arses at times, just to real keep it, because me am from Yorkshire. And when we talk about reproductive justice, we're talking about body autonomy in the very least, and we are also talking about a multitude of things other. So for a minute, when you think about reproductive justice, we would ask you moving forward to think about what it means to move through the day knowing your arse was not well wiped at a bare minimum, and that the person who did that was not of your choosing, and that in that work, the folks who are doing that work, guess what, are marginalized, undocumented femme women and black women and trans women and gender non-conforming, because their worth is not enough, so they will be given the horrible work that is to be in service of those of us who are equally, if not more, unfit. And that cycle is deliberate, it is insistent, and we have to break it. Boy. So we need to begin with access, not where it ends, not as a destination, but as a method to have us here. Because really, to speak to you honestly, as we've said we will do, without it you keep us sight out of your provision, literally beyond the sight lines of accountability, and effortlessly out of your agendas. And access, you know, folks, access, it's not that complicated. It's most often simple acts of tremendous, ordinary attention that generate inclusion, can shatter isolation, and from that expansion and depth in direction, every grows. Audio descriptions, straws, reasonable start and finish times, ramps, ASL interpreting, multilingual spaces, open language, open seating. These are tangible ways to mold spaces to more accessible being. Access also incubates the practice of a quieted curiosity. It germinates a mindset and politics that attentive is to services and engagement that are not predicated on mobility or skinniness, literacy, quickened thought, prettiness, sorry me said that, but it's a thing, vision, unaccented speech, or pain-free bodies that stand. Access incubates that quieted curiosity. Access stands under that name tags in English do not a full-use introduction make for those of us disabled and who do not read. Simply, we do not read. Particularly when they are English in only. English in only. When your name tags are only English in. That's a cousin not too distant from men only, or citizens only, or good enough immigrants only, or nice black people only, or good women only, or assimilated natives only, or pretty on the eyes TGNC folks only, on whites only. Name tags in English only do not a full use introduction make, even for those of you who read English, because so many of us also do not need a visual body check on introduction and endure. Access, these are acts of simplicity and manners. They remain where they began, small, tiny things that incubate possibilities that are vast. Tiny acts that are upbrought in disability and illness, tempered through the bedrock of working and welfare class, immigrant, indigenous, street, and common sense knowledge. They are our whip smarts, and we are happy to share them with as long as you use them. They the keystones are to universal access, and they are utterly and totally your reach within. Reproductive justice, any justice, is only going to possible be through an implemented commitment to universal access. When we, folks with disabilities and chronic illness, are in psych wards or group homes and our sexuality is expressed, we are in great danger. And if here we also are pregnant or wishing to be, or a sexual relation in, we are scrutiny under that is as severe as it is absolute. When we are families' back rooms and our sexuality is not expressed, we too also are great danger in. When we live with cognitive, intellectual disabilities or differences of speech, irrespective of the expression of our sexuality or the request for our reproductive rights, we are in danger greater. And for those of us who are considered particularly unworthy, as we too are women, black, people of color, single mums, youth, homeless, TGNC folks, queer, non-English speakers, indigenous, fat, non-verbal, undocumented, Muslim, femme, or poor, fundamentally always poor, or any combination of these, along with disabled or ill-being, then we are in yet greater danger. And the sexual violence, maltreatment, and exploitation and state control that targets us these places in at these times, repeated, this violence knows no bounds, and it is as common as our ragged, gasping breath. Yet somehow, even now, within the heart of so many progressive, justice-based, radical liberation, etc., etc., etc. movements that seek to be rooted in critical justice thinking, disabled and chronically ill people remain dismissed as invalid survivors, as incredible witnesses to the violence we experience, to our desires, our very lives, and fundamentally our survival. It's a dozen plus decades since the eugenics movement officially ended, and still we have lives that are thinly coded of unworthy of living, as unfit burdens, tragic inspirations, unproductive, dangerous, and volatile. So here we, folks with disabilities and illness, we swing perpetually, dizzy, disorientated, somewhere between repulsive and disposable, until core beliefs these are fundamentally challenged, and not only disability activists but by any and all justice-based movements, including this one, including each and every one of you. Until then, there will be no reproductive justice that will achieve what it needs to do. You're all very kind. Not in that pitying way, me feel you, thank you. So disabled and chronically ill communities we need just to Clearby, a fierce reproductive justice politics that never, ever its commitment softens to a woman's right to choose and self-determination. That is not what we are asking. What we asking for are what we need, what we demanding are, is that reproductive justice dismantles the ableist messaging it still tolerates. Frequently still generates in the attempts to backfight against the ongoing attacks on the right to choice. Leveraging ableism, this justice is not reproductive or otherwise, using type 1 of supremacist thinking in the misguided belief it will somehow secure freedom for other people's bodies. This justice is not, this must end. As the harm here is palpable, as it is tremendous, its impact lands catastrophically upon us, not you. Using the specter of disability, the threat of birth defect, of the unworthy, as a tool campaigning to protect a woman's right to choose is complicity deep with ableism, just for starters. It feeds the notion of the unfit, it feeds the fear of the feeble-minded, it nourishes the bedrock of disposable and the tangled web, supremacy-based systems that are wefted to this unholy, oppressive mess. We are only as strong as we are united. We are only as strong as we are unified. We are accountable to each other and to each other's and all of our own liberations. If you believe reproductive justice into, then commit to anti-ableism, dig deep into a practice solidarity with disability justice. Disabled and ill people live our lives glaring down the burden of costly, bitter and dangerous, tragic and heroic, and the myths of them. And within the multitude that is magnificent of our clustered identities, always as the disabled, we become ultimately the less than. We are productive not by the standards of this nation state, somebody called America, and we are learning how not to care. It's not us that is flawed, this particular rampant brand of capitalism, the unchecked delusion of individualism inherently designed is to exploit, divide, discard, and then dispose of the unproductive. As disabled and sick folk, we know this is us. It has always been us. We believe little will be gained by softening our message, lowering our standards, moving away from unapologetic boldness or value core hours that we ourselves are enough, period, that a woman has the right to choose, period. It is this simple, it is this true. When we leave people more marginalized behind, order in to gather support popular, when supremacy systems used are for term, short, fragile, and incomplete wins, nothing is gained. Instead, tentative collaborations are ripped asunder again, and the historical devaluing of and disposing of disabled and sick lives and communities doesn't repeat just, it gathers legitimacy, strength, and simply continues renewed. Disabled communities live no illusion under. We arrived this world into less productive. We wrestled have the notions with of value and worth, and we've crafted our own credibility side out of these markers. We nurse homespun dignity with equal parts pride, fear, and rage. We are alive, tensile resistance in, yet always breathing heavy, always at the front lines of disposable. Disabled and ill folk, we live with the damage, the lie, and the harm of bootstraps thinking. And we have come to know a woman has the right to choose without qualification, period, that we ourselves are enough, period. We remain where we have always been, spread thinly, precarious at the edge, furthermost of hope, demand, and generosity. Here we cling. with hearts and very survival hours outstretched past lineal sense, beyond your low expectations of us, charging that you end this incomplete thinking, exclusion, and the domination resources of. We ask you, we plead you, we are cajoling with you that you pivot this way. Shed your fear, stop this flight, lean towards disability and illness, turn back towards us, your familiars made strange. We are among you. We are ourselves enough. A woman has a right to choose, period. There will be no reproductive justice without disability justice. Thank you.